pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go to the agenda. Are there any corrections or amendments to the agenda? If not, can I have a motion to approve?
A motion. Second.
All in favor? Aye. The agenda is approved. The minutes, we have two sets. October 18th, special meeting.
Mr. President, I suggest on page 4, Mr. Collins commented Ron is now a member of the group. I would include his last name. It's Olszewski. It's Olszewski.
Do you have that, Michelle? Okay. Any other changes?
Move to accept.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have the November 22nd.
Mr. President,
Yes.
on page 2, reference myself, Mr. Collins asked if a quick flip. I would like that changed to quick sale. Flip is I don't know. Anyway, it's quick sale.
Quick sale.
Yeah.
All right.
The same paragraph, I would like to suggest that we move forward post haste, move forward with repairs post haste. It doesn't make sense if that meant move forward post haste.
This is in.
The last paragraph, foreclosure purchase.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Clark moved to direct Mr. Thompson to move forward with repairs post haste.
All right. Any other comments? Have a motion to accept?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The president, since he was late, isn't allowed to have any remarks. So I will pass. And we can move right into the general manager's report. Okay, moving on to section 1, financial reports. We will receive the controllers report. And does anyone have any questions on the financial?
I sent him the right measure.
All right. Any other questions on the financial report? Okay, moving on to unfinished business, the Michaelin Meadows complex. We all have the revised numbers and estimates. Your question is, or Bob, that the board will need to provide direction to move forward with the project or not. I haven't seen a motion yet to that effect, unless I missed it.
No, sir. The packet of information was provided. I anticipated whether I couldn't talk. Should I have provided a motion with that request?
No, you shouldn't have. But on the other hand, somebody should have if there was going to be a motion.
Oh, wait a minute. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Point of order here, Dick. We got this 3 days before, just like everybody else did.
Yeah.
This report was the result of a request by this board that the approved master plan for study would be priced out. And that's what's happened. That's what's in our hand right now.
Yes.
I don't anticipate, or wouldn't have anticipated us having to have a motion. I would think we would have some discussion about the report, pluses and minuses of it. I mean, the report is now in our hands as to what the pricing will be for the overall plan that was accepted by the board. I wouldn't have anticipated there having to be a motion to either move forward, all on or all off, for what's in this document.
Point of order, Tom, wouldn't it be that if somebody makes a motion, then it's open for a discussion?
Well, again, it depends on how you want to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, I've never felt you had to have a motion to vote up or down on something for a board of directors to have a discussion. But
Dave, may I ask if we can ask our general manager to perhaps walk us through this information on Lakewood Meadows?
Yes, I think, that obviously, Tom's right, the dollars are the missing piece that we haven't had up to this point. And I think, the question or the subject certainly should be revisited or discussed at this time. And I don't think we necessarily need a motion to do that. You're right.
I'm not sure what you're asking me. The dollars are on the second page. It's broken down in detail of the documents that were handed out. Page 1 is a gray cover sheet, and page 2 of the document is broken down into multiple sections for the information that the board had requested that we provide. That is a breakdown of approximate cost for each step of the project, from the pickleball courts, platform tennis courts, overall cost for stormwater management, engineering costs, contingency costs are all included in.
May I ask a question?
sure.
Yeah, this is open discussion.
Is it open discussion? Is that what it is?
Not for the board.
Okay. Bob, do we know how much usage or utilization of the courts are at night? Do we have a study indicating that there is a genuine need for lights on all these courts?
I don't have a formal study as to the night use of the courts.
Okay, because that is a significant cost, right?
Lighting?
The
Yes,
lighting,
sir.
yeah. Well, it might behoove us to know that. I mean, the wintertime, obviously, there's not a lot of light, is there? But in the summertime, it gets dark around here, 9 o'clock, 8:30? So, I don't know how many people play midnight tennis or pickleball or what have you. So I think we would probably need some sort of a guideline as to whether or not it's really necessary. And that might knock off some of these.
I was just going to say that the only problem with that is I see it from a liability standpoint. You don't have the lighting there. Somebody's playing there when it starts turning dark and they get hurt. That's part of the lawsuit, buddy. I tell you, they say you didn't have adequate lighting, or my person would not have tripped over that curb.
Well, it's a good point. It really is, Pat. It's a good point. But I think you could probably, close the courts down, put up a sign saying can't use it.
The other piece of this playground equipment, $32,000, that really is under the general costs, correct?
Correct.
It's being shown here as part of the pickleball. So the pickleball is actually 161 minus 32,000.
Okay.
So just, if you want to do some math on your paper there, the pickleball is actually about 129, and if you take out to Jack's question, if you take out the lighting, that's $60,500. Your pickleballs are extreme. By the way, I didn't get a microphone today. Maybe they're trying to tell me something. I'm not sure. But so I'll just speak up. That's what yeah, we'll share. Right. Again, I think what Jack put on the table is the option of and Pat, I hear your question as far as the liability goes. There may be other ways of adjusting this, not least of which is lighting, which saves $60,000 or $60,500. But we went into this with a budgeted numbers from this year's budget and what's in next year's budget of $229. So eliminating the lighting, it's 40 isn't close, but it's much closer than 100. Are there other options of how to? I mean, obviously, we're looking at on the face of it, $100,000 more than what's currently in this year's budget or in next year's requested budget. The lighting takes care of some of it. Are there other options here, Bob, to how to roll this out? Other changes?
It's 200,000, not 100. Total estimated project cost, 339,550.
Yeah.
Total budget is 135. There is no 2016.
I said in the budget for next year. It's
There
in the
is no budget next year. It hasn't been voted on.
Come on, Marty, you know full well, I'm talking about the requested budget. I understand that budget hasn't passed yet.
When is this going to be built?
My question stands.
Go ahead.
Sometime after you approve. And,
Could I also ask clarification?
absolutely.
The 32,000, is that part of the 339,000?
It is.
Okay. So if the playground equipment was under recreation, or was it always meant?
No. We put it on this page so you could see the entire cost for everything we were going to do.
So if we took out the lighting and the playground equipment, which might be recreation park.
Well, the playground is. We've requested in next year's budget to replace those items anyway.
Correct.
But if we're going to tie the project together, we said we would put all the project costs in one document for you, which is what we did.
All right, so I'm just trying to get us closer to what our budget amount was. So if our budget amount is this new budget passing, number we have in there, at 229, we are pretty close to it. Taking the lights.
Yeah, well, let me ask, we just received a change to the numbers, which I think require an explanation. I hope.
Well, yeah, what we came up with in anticipation of a request of alternative solution is we gave an alternative, and you'll see on here, and Jerry finalized this this spring. We cut it down from 8 pickleball courts down to 4 pickleball courts. And we started there, which is one request that I believe Mr. Clark had brought up a couple of times. We went through and cut everything in half so we could. Our goal was to get the project started, so we gave you an alternative solution for consideration. We believe option one is the correct way to do it, but we also felt giving an alternative was appropriate.
Bob, can I ask a question on the revised estimate? We went for that. We still have to do the playground equipment now?
I've requested in the budget that the board is deliberating on now, so we're asking for the playground equipment.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
So back in the new document we just got, backing out the 32,000 playground equipment really belongs on the general fund. Pickleball is now 82,127
For 4 courts.
for 4.
70.
And knock out the lighting.
72, excuse me.
Yep, 72.
72. Good. I don't get out the box.
Still, I have a question.
Everybody's going right to cutting out the lighting. If these folks play till 9 o'clock in the summer and it gets dark at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the winter, then, playing. So, you can't say, how many players do we have playing at night? I mean, they play up until 9 o'clock at night, but during the winter they can only play till 3:30, 4 o'clock. So they're losing five hours a day, all that play. That's
Well,
But that was my
yeah,
question.
I agree with that, Bill. It's good thinking, but where I'm coming from is maybe even during the summertime, there's not a great deal of night play. I don't know. I don't play pickleball. I don't play platform tennis. I have bad knees, so I can't do that stuff anymore. So the bottom line is, the question it addresses, has a survey been done to indicate that there is night play? That's all. And if there is, then, there may be a requirement for lighting.
I've been down there all hours of the day.
But you know that for a fact.
I've been there. I've seen it. That's
So
what I'm
you know-
saying. I've been down there and seen it all hours of the day. There's people playing.
At night, they play night.
Oh, yeah.
Dave,
Yes.
if we can suspend the rules, we do have some pickleball players in the audience. Can we ask their opinion? And that's platform. But they're pickleball too. Yeah, they're pickleball.
On what? I mean, we're discussing
I mean, how
this.
important the lighting would be. I'm just curious what their feelings are, that's all.
Well, I can pretty much tell you they're going to say it's important. I mean, I don't need to suspend the rules to know that, Sharon. But if you really want rules suspended, I think it's the greatest thing. We pretty much heard pickleball, paddleball, tennis.
I would like the rules suspended and ask if at least one of the members could give us some information, because we're not pickleball players here.
Make a motion, Sharon.
Make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules and have at least one of the members of the board that gives input on the importance of the lighting.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Now may I ask somebody to step forward.
John's the chair.
No, the pickleball.
I'm Frank Creamer, 116 Boston Drive. And Dave is right, we're going to say we need them. But I can only tell you about this past year, being our first year, we scheduled nighttime play 3 nights a week. In our first year, and we averaged 12 to 24 people 3 nights a week. That's all we scheduled.
So what time?
We scheduled it from 5 to 9, usually. We tried to get people as they were getting off work. See, everybody's not retired that plays pickleball. And a lot of them want to play at night.
What about in the wintertime?
Wintertime, we play as long as the weather is above 32. Once it gets below 32, the balls that we use start cracking a lot, and that gets to be expensive for our club. So it usually has to be about between 30 and 40 before we
Well, I guess the question is, would there be night play in the wintertime?
weather permitting.
You,
Our email that we send out every week always has a little blurb there. Weather permitting, there will be night play. Weather permitting, there will be afternoon play. We kind of have to tell people that.
like the night play you're talking about is indoors.
No, night play is outside. It's outside, night play.
You're playing
On
over
the tennis courts.
On the tennis courts?
Currently, we're using the tennis courts, and when we have overflow, we only have 2 lighted tennis that we can use. When we have overflow, Platform has been generous enough to let us line their courts and turn on their lights. So we're playing tennis courts and Platform this night.
So the tennis courts and the platform courts are already.
They're already lit. 2 tennis courts are lit, and 4 platform courts.
Appreciate your input.
Anybody from Platform? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to know.
My name is Scotty Wheatley. I'm at 84 Hingham Lane, and we are probably play more at night, especially in the summertime because it gets so hot in the afternoon. We play all winter long. We have a lot of our social events at night, and any court that you're going to build, you need lights. Pickleball needs lights because they play at night in the summertime, and it just makes sense to put lights there. And we always turn them off when we're done. But more so, platform tennis plays more at night because it's a winter game than any other sport. Any
True.
other questions?
That's a fact.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Jay.
We have to move to go back into regular.
No, I'll just declare we're going back into regular session.
The, contingency cost of 5% built into both of these, is it both? No, 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah, 2.5, 1, 2.
Probably the right. Stormwater management does not change from one option to the other. It's still 55.
We believe there might be a little bit of a reduction, but not much. Overall, stormwater management, wherever you do a plan like this, should take into consideration not only the current plan at that moment, but any future planning as it gets routed through the county.
This lighting that's in both of these budgets, does it lack platform tennis as well as pickleball?
The pickleball lighting is broken out separately, identified. The platform lighting is in the unit cost that was quoted, and it's in your pack.
So it's in
part of it.
Including my
thank you. It's right here. It says includes lighting. Okay. The platform.
Mr. President, one more question. Bob, what the equipment 4,000? Are we talking literally rackets and stuff like that? What do we mean by equipment?
Light bulbs, lights, lighting equipment.
Lighting equipment. Got it. Okay. I got you.
As opposed to labor.
Now this involves all of Plan 4. So we ask you to go price up. That's
Yes, sir.
moving the road, moving parking spaces.
Everything that was included in the plan that the board preliminarily approved, yes, sir.
So if we have this total cost estimate in the first package with everything at 339, 32,000, the gal is somewhere else, correct?
Assuming the board approves the proposed budget, which includes 32,000 under Rec and Parks Department for the playground, yes, ma'am, that would be a correct
So
statement.
then we're closer to about a $300,000 for this whole
I
package.
do have a question to that, Chuck.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay. I think if we don't move the playground quick, if you don't include it in it, you're not going to get pickleball. Am I correct? So,
No, the plan includes moving the playground. That is correct. Mr. Stevens is correct on that.
so I mean, the playground equipment is part and parcel of getting pickleball courts. You can't force them.
Well,
to-
and with the understanding, we asked for replacement in this year's proposed budget to replace the uprights on the playground equipment, regardless of what we do with pickleball or not. It's our intent to replace those. They're rotting and starting to fall apart. So we've asked for approval to make that repair, regardless of what we do here today. We're still asking to break that playground down and put it back together with the uprights with the new ones
And that's in the recreation budget.
in the proposed budget.
I'm
under
just trying to
recreation.
figure out what would the net number be. If the fact that is past budget,
241.5.
it will be closer to,
No, it's
Or depending on which one.
241.5.
Depends on which one you're subtracting.
well, I'm talking about the major, first one that was presented, Jeff,
Oh,
with the 8 ports. I'm just looking at the big overall picture.
that's
Well, I think, if I should clarify, Sharon, I think in both the A and the B, playground equipment is 32,000.
Correct.
It doesn't change. So are you suggesting we take the 32 out?
No, I'm just looking, I'm just trying to compare, if we already have it in a budget in another place, we don't double charge a project. That's all I'm saying. So if it's in the budget under recreation and parks, which is my committee, because I remember being in there, I didn't even want to see it twice. I understand why it's here, because you're giving us a whole pit package. But the truth of the matter is that's going to be under recreation, because it's got to be replaced anyway, because they're rotting. So it truly isn't a cost for the pickleball course, it's a cost for the project.
Well, I
It just
would,
matters where it's allocated.
I would even take it a further step, that it isn't even a price. I appreciate it being here because it's full disclosure, but the other piece of this is this $32,000 is going to, if it's approved, is not going to happen only if the courts are built. The $32,000 is going to happen because the playground equipment needs to be fixed.
Right.
So in my mind, while I appreciate the 32 being on the page and not trying to slip it up the table somewhere, reality is that $32,000 repair for playground equipment is not a switch on or off when it comes to building these courts. It's for the association's going to spend it, but it's not tied. In other words, if you don't build the pickleball courts and the paddleball courts, the request for fixing the playground equipment doesn't go away, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so to me, the 32 comes off of both of these.
Well,
It can't.
well, also, Bob, unless I'm mistaken, because you're doing this to the playground, it has to be ADA compliant now? Correct?
Yes, sir.
So that's built into the $32,000 cost?
Any
American
repair,
Disabilities
when we
Act.
do Any, I know what ADA stands
Oh,
for.
okay,
Any,
well,
any repairs that are done when you're upgrading any of the playgrounds, we
Yeah.
make sure that they're compliant.
So that's in the $32,000,
Yes, sir.
the ADA compliant feature of redoing the playground.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a trick question.
I understand.
I just don't know.
We priced to replace part of the failing structure. That's it. I don't know. Let me research that before I
Okay.
answer it.
That's
Because
good.
I don't believe it's not ADA compliant, or we would have gotten it in the first place.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
if rules change, the example, the ground cover, we've upgraded ground, what's on the ground to meet the ADA compliance. We're always modifying whatever we need to keep our playgrounds
Right.
overall in compliance.
Marty has a question.
Come, the money for the pickleball courts, is that general? Or is it still showing as replacement reserves?
I'll check on. You probably have the budget book. I don't
I
have
do,
it.
it's not worth looking up. I mean, can we agree that it's not replacement reserves?
I wouldn't agree one way or the other. I'd like to see the documentation, how we have it. That's something our account advises us on. We often differ on, so I don't want.
We need an answer from our account.
And we've had the answer before. You disagreed with it, so I'm not sure that I can give you a different answer.
We had an answer before when we were doing the swing racket.
No.
We're replacing those courts, and a court is a court. But we're not replacing.
Pickleball courts are under G, Jen.
Okay, thank you.
There are for this snow coming
They're under G.
for 35,000.
Next question. Anybody can answer this one. I think, but do we actually spend money in fiscal year 15? It's in the budget for 16. Or do you think this is actually going to flow over into 16? That's my question on timing.
Yeah, based on where we are now, based on what's in the budget, what we'll do, if the board approves this overall plan, we'll then take steps to get started. The project wouldn't necessarily get started until it warmed up a little bit anyway. Some of the earthwork could occur, but we're seeing it, because of the timing, crossing into 2 budget years.
And last but not least, no, I can't vote for it because no matter how you divvy up the nuts, it's $43,950 over all the budgets. This year's, next year's, put them together, take out stuff we didn't spend, still 43 grand over budget. What did I say? Section 44, 43,950, if I've done my math correctly.
It's 44.5.
Okay? I mean,
I have to, adding on to what Morty said, I have to wonder, how can we be over budget on a budget that we haven't even approved?
We're not over budget.
Well, we're going to be if we do this.
Well, I think the issue becomes you have a certain amount of money that's already in this year's budget.
Yes.
And we're in the process of building next year's.
Yes.
So, in my mind, you don't vote for a budget that you already know doesn't cover the costs. We would have to increase that portion of the budget. It would either have to go up $12,000, which is what it would be for the revised model, or $78,000 for the full model. The original document, as I'm doing my math, it's 229 minus 307. Because again, we're all taking the 32,000 out. So you'd have to increase the budget either 12,000 to get 4 and 2 and 4, or 78,000 to get all 8 pickleball courts and 2 metal.
All right, so correct me, that's not exactly the way it was presented.
No, I'm working my way through it.
Yeah, it would have to do that. So what you're saying, Tom, is that by basically approving this, we're not going to be over budget. We're basically telling Bob, add X amount of dollars to the next budget.
That's what he would have to do, yeah. One we're working on now for next year. So it either goes up 12,050 or 78.
This is maybe for Jerry. When we're looking at the 4 courts bid at 32.5, you have on both of them 500 linear feet. You went 5,000, 10,000. I assume you meant it to be 250 on the smaller project. 4 courts. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm trying to figure out is in the future. Let's just say we go with the 4. If we decide the following year to add 4 more courts, how does that affect us? Is this like, are we going to spend double what we would have normally have spent? If done it all at one time? Is it going to, does it matter? You see what I'm trying to say? Am I making myself clear?
You asking?
Yes.
I think it's pretty close to that 50%, because you're talking material, talking amount of fence, amount of outs.
So if next year we decide we want to go ahead and finish the last courts, it'll cost us approximately another $32,000. Ballpark. Because all the site work, all the prep, and all that kind of stuff, the engineering, all that stuff.
Basically, we adjusted the site work down a bit,
Yeah.
and the little bit slight, but yeah, basically.
Plus lighting. Okay, plus lighting.
Well, actually, I left the lighting in when I did my math.
But the lighting's in half.
Yeah, well, the lighting's in half.
So what I'm saying, if we did 4, we'd have to double. No. Okay. Gotcha.
Playground. Can we, if we take the alternate model, does the playground have to be moved in order to? So either way, the playground gets repositioned.
The intent would be to move. If we're adding pickleball courts, the intent is to move the playground.
To reorient it.
Correct. It
And
provides
do
for
the parking lot work to make that.
It provides for whatever the board may or may not approve now, as well as future growth. If we only approve for the pickleball courts, it allows us the additional, let's say next year, this next year.
But does that still include the roads being moved in the parking lot?
The gravel parking lot? Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea at all how much? I mean, does it make a difference how much by moving playground, if you don't have to move the playground, how much do you actually say that whatever you have to do to make that decision, you don't have to move. I'm just wondering what that incremental difference is.
The issue is, if you don't playground, you've got a configuration problem. You've got to fit the pickleball court somewhere else, and that somewhere else has other implications.
Is that the extra 4 or person?
I see what you're saying. Can you fit 4 in there? Well, that possibly. Not sure.
Okay, that's all right, Jack. I mean, the answer doesn't pop out.
No, we always considered 8.
All right, so.
And I want to clarify, I was making a mistake with my math. It looks to me like pickleball courts would be an additional 70,000 the following year, only just added 40.
anybody might just take a quick run through the numbers. Everybody's throwing numbers out there. Using the second alternative, that's 2 and 4. It looks to me like total estimated project cost, bear with me, $273,550. Let's take away budget. We have 135 this year's budget. That leaves us with 138,550. We're going to take out 32,000 playground because it's in a budget somewhere, someday, and it's got to be done. We're down to 106,550. Taking out, Lord, what's the 35,000 I took out? Anybody? Somebody help me.
This year's budget.
The budget that we haven't been approved yet, mystery money. Take that out. We're down to 71,550. Then we have 27,600 in savings from something.
That was a lighting.
Ballpark lighting.
Ballpark lighting.
We're down to 43,950-ish. Does that sound right to everybody? So we're shy 43,950-ish in budget. And we would then, the proposal is when we do the 16 budget, which we're working on right now, we're going to add that in. Which will be, I don't know how you add it back in. I mean, would it be added in as general or replacement reserve? I don't know. It does matter, because if it's general, you've got to ask the membership in this upcoming year's assessment for whatever the math is. Not a lot.
That's a lot. And considering the fluidity of the current budget, very exciting.
I'm just trying to understand it.
Reallocation.
Doesn't bother me. I got $5. Doesn't bother me. But it is $5 that we're going to have to apply to our assessment. Pay for work golf course and 2 actually
Platforms.
And light and moving.
Animal, and
Thing.
I think and then we would basically for next year's budget about the same amount. We would budget the same amount in for next year to build the next.
Well, then you're really shoving up the old assessment now. Well,
For next year.
taking now you're at, how much is it? 50 to build, 55? 57,000-ish. That's lower, 44,000-ish. Where you point? We just did the math.
I know you did, just did a lot.
Oh, sure, you can ask any of them. I thought people asked many, many times.
Oh, okay, all right, that's what.
And I got that in.
All right.
So we're up to $12 worth of
That's what he
assessment
said.
per person.
27. Dave, are you talking the budget that we're working on, or
Budget will work.
the following year for the other?
Huh?
I thought that's what you were trying to say. The second would be the following year.
17.
Right.
Talking about approving this now under the current budget.
That's, I think
That's what
only
we're talking
if,
about.
yeah, only if you're talking at 8. That's what I worry about that.
And we've talked before all.
That's what was in the budget. That's all I've ever expressed. Like I've heard
Well, however
550, 200, that's why.
however the exact numbers come out, I mean, what it appears is that we can, for the current budget, the original was 4 and 2, and
It's short for
You
you.
still gotta have money out of this coming budget.
we will be short, but given the way
100 grand short.
Not 90.
Thank you.
It's around close enough.
It's only,
The increase to the request that's in our proposed budget book right now, as I do the math, as I understand it, what was in the budget book that we got, we were working our way through, was $94,000 change that was put in there on top of the 135 to get to 229. So if you take the 135 that's already in this fiscal year's budget and subtract down to 106, you had 94 in the book already. That's 12 grand short of 6. So for all intents and purposes, budget book we've got and the budget dollars we've already got in hand will come within $12,000 building 2 and 4 and preparing the land and fixing the roads and getting the parking lot ready and still have the land set up for having the last 4 courts built the next year. Or you go ahead and do the whole thing, which is what was originally priced out. You do the same math, you're about $78,000 increase in this particular budget book for ordinance. So it's 12 or 78.
I can't find this. I've got 202,000 tennis courts and playgrounds in this year and next year's budget.
Can I ask? We have not approved next year's budget yet. We still have a board to discuss this. I suggest we table this until we do that tab, figure out what we're going to do. I don't think we can vote on something we don't know the number for next year's budget.
I don't think we may or may not come to a vote.
There's been no motion.
There's been no motion. But on the other hand, if we get a sense of going with that, and right now, the specific numbers notwithstanding, I think my general sense is 2 and 4 right now is something we need to do. And with the option of having a playground, basically consensus would be that yes, we have to do something with the playground. And if it moves and makes room for pickle courts, that's okay too. And that would be in next year's budget. And we have the discussion then about next year, but following year. But on the other hand, now again, I'm not necessarily calling it county, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. In other words, we're not that far away from the very beginning. 2 and 4.
I like Sharon's idea. Basically, I'm not disagreeing. I think we got the numbers. That was the purpose of this. That they were asked to price it out. They did. We got an option, which I think was the right thing to do. Because clearly that was a little beyond where the original estimate was. They need to discuss this at the budget. I agree with you. We are very close to doing what we had planned to do, and we prepared the land in the parking lot and get all the other campus work. That's what I kept asking Bob, was the rest of the campus work going to get done? The road is fixed, the parking lot is rearranged, everything else is done. Then you have done the campus approach for preparing the land and that land over there to be in the configuration we thought it should be. So I think we close this down, take it to the budget discussion.
And then the next month, you can, like the chair of this committee, or the liaison, then you bring this up.
Put a sticker into something that everybody seems to agree on. But on the other hand, I just will point out that budget discussions are budget discussions about next year. They don't address new money this year.
We could always have a
So that'd have to be a special meeting to do that. That's okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So
We're close to getting this together.
Okay. Marina fuel. No. Are there any questions on the White Horse smoke? Works underway. Marina fuel pumps. Basically, we have an increase in cost. And we need
Second.
Yeah.
After I read this, I know we don't like to do motions during, this appears to be calling for a
motion.
motion to accept option 1 or option 2,
Right.
and Souley is already proposing that option 3. I don't intend to be in it. That's how I put this back. Is that
Can you explain what you're talking about, please?
Pardon?
To explain what you're talking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Marina fuel filter replacement.
the, going back into the history, but there is a requirement to do something about the fuel lines running along that dock or running the platform. Bob, listen up to this. There's a mistake.
Fair enough.
Several options, 2 options at least, have been proposed. The one proposed by Souley and or recommended by Souley is to elevate the platform and run the fuel lines under the elevator. The alternatives, as I understood it, go around the platform in one case, which was a dangerous option, and it had some problems with it. And I don't remember the third one, but either one of them are not satisfactory compared to the rate. Is that about it? So I think the motion that requires to raise the accept the Souley option. And what was the additional cost on that option?
$11,293.80.
Bob, could you tell us the history just real quick? I mean, we approved placing gas pumps for X,
Yes.
and then that came in higher. Or
No, the pump, no, if you
that
recall
came
the
in,
pumps.
then there was a electrical.
Yes, what happened, we put out to bid for we had budgeted approximately $75,000 last year to replace the pumps. The reason we had gone 75 at that time was in case there was any additional work that needed to be accomplished. When the original RFP went out, the fuel dispensers and connections thereof were what came back in our bid process, and that came in at less than half of the 75. When the company that was awarded the bid, there were multiple companies that bid on it, we reviewed those, was awarded the bid, they came out to do final measurements, all the final pieces before they placed the order for the actual dispensers, being the pumps themselves. They started looking under and around the deck area to look at some of the wiring, some of the other components, and found that some of the lines were not up to code at the time. So that was the second change, was connecting from the land side out to the dock, running a new piping just to bring it up to code, because we had some setting right at the water level, some touching the water, some was up hanging where perfectly fine. So we bid that out, okay, and we came back and requested that additional information for the electric, to run the electric connection, which was approved. We're still under budget. They came back with a $1,200. They needed some updated blast-proof fitting items, which was $1,200. We just added that to the pricing. Didn't come forward for approval. However, now when they started to look at when the dispenser, removing the dispensers and looking, the pipes that actually connect from the dispensers to the dock, which then travels onto the main area, the land area, right there, the platform that it sits on, those pipes are not bent correctly for a smooth flow, and they're not in compliance with the current regulations. So what's happened is we're looking at the new piping options, and that's where Mr. Stevens was correct. The options were option 3, drill through the existing woodwork that's there, right from the dispenser, drill holes through the existing dock or the existing platform area, and run the pipes to connect to the dock that runs all the way up to the land. Option 2 was consider running piping from the dispensers around the exterior so you don't have to drill through the wood platform. That didn't seem prudent to us because it creates a safety issue. If a watercraft of any type were to hit that, you have potential rupture of the line. Option 3 was we were looking at adding an additional platform on top of the current platform, you're basically doubling the deck by. And you put the 4x4 stringers down, you now have the gap between the existing deck and the new deck where the new pipes can run. They're covered, they're compliant, and that's what's brought us to where we are now.
You need a motion on this.
Because it exceeds the original budgeted number by $11,000 to bring it in today's compliant. Now again, the budget was, yes, sir. The budget was crafted almost 18 months ago with our estimates then. We're now bringing everything as you're uncovering things, you're finding some of this piping, some things we didn't expect, or the contractor didn't expect, and we're bringing everything up to compliance.
I understand. Original budget was 75.7.
Sounds right, yes.
We awarded a bid for 35.218.
For the dispensers,
That left us with some
35
30,
plus.
35. Then I didn't see an amount.
The additional
The first-
piping
Yeah.
down, remember we found that?
Yeah, I saw that.
And
I don't know
that,
how much
remember
it
that
was.
number? The
It's
electrical?
on the second page here. The gas line service for the option 1 was $16,513. The electric service for option 1 was $22,900. $1,200, $1,300 change order that Bob talked about was for the fixes to the pumps.
So we're still not that I can see at the 75.7.
Well, the total right there, option 1, $86,993. It's on page 2.
You include public works.
Go back a little, Marty. You're into the bids. Go the other way. You should see marina pump replacement project.
Got it right there.
Option 1 and option 2.
I will make a motion that we accept option 1. Marina fuel pump replacement project done and completed.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Okay, the next one that has an action. Roadside trim. Item exceeds $15,000.
It's within the budgeted amount. This is for roadside trimming down the parkway, the branches and trees that are hanging over. We thought it's in this year's budget to start work on that. So we're actually basically trimming back for the parkway. So we've got 2 bids we received, 2 other companies we talked to that didn't bid on the project, and our bid is actually below the budgeted number.
Where is it?
Probably Public Works or General Maintenance. I don't have my budget
I
book
got
here.
public works. I don't see
You're there looking at General Maintenance. Look in the project, a couple pages back. Right in that area. One of those should say roadside.
How much does it exceed that price?
It doesn't. It's within. Yeah. Yes, sir, it's within.
I'm sure it is. But I looked for it earlier. Unless it's just.
Budget amount was
landscape.
in Public Works Department, budget amount was $35,000.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept bid. The first company mentioned the company's solution. Okay. The amount of $23,500 for roadside trim.
Have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Give me a number. Tell me something. 5,000. Yeah, yeah.
I don't have my book with me, or I'd look for it.
It's on the range.
Yeah, give me a second, we'll find it now.
Selected is blind.
Oh, it's just need to look. double check it first. You're not embarrassing me, trust me, I'm good. I'm so used to the target practice. I think you pulled it out.
Yeah, I raised it.
Find a way to grab. I'll try to get the more table.
No.
Marty.
Yeah, if you'd like to wait, I can try it. I can read.
Marty said no.
What reason is
I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. I see nothing here that has any further action items.
CPI.
CPI? Just one CPI?
Yes, it's
Right.
one CPI
Just one.
violation.
Before we get too far on that, I spoke to a person. I spoke to him for trailers. I sat. The other stuff that he's cutting up as he goes, a lot of that underbrush stuff he's pulled in other property off the neighborhood. He uses it for his fire.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about a CPI.
CPI violation
Why you?
on 42 Bramblewood. Debris and trailer violation.
It's not a trailer violation. Trailer's legal.
I'm only reading what it says. It doesn't.
Illegal trailer.
I'm not CPI.
If the trailer didn't have rubbish on it, it would be legal.
Well, let me see. We do have the violation. Right here. At any rate, what is the action on this one?
We've contacted the member and pretty much been told that he's doing what he's doing. So our next step would send it to legal for action. And they'd send them the letter saying apply, or we'll take further action and have it removed. Marty, just say talk to him.
I would request that we give the guy the beat. Somebody wants to make a motion if they didn't go on by Saturday.
Saturday's only 2 days.
I understand that. You guys work, guys. You can't do it till Saturday.
Well, just delay the motion to the attorney.
Or make the motion to take action for Monday if it's not complied out, inspected Monday.
Not going to have all the wood done.
Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make it.
Okay. If it's not complied out by Monday,
And we'll-
then we'll move forward.
Let me make the motion.
Okay, sure.
I move finding and teaching violation. And if he does not empty the trailer by the end of the day Saturday, let's say Monday morning when we go by and look at it, go forward and send this to our attorney.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. Discussion? Just point of order on the discussion here. We're talking about somebody 4 years behind on assessment.
Hear you.
You're talking about pictures of a land that your motion just excluded all of these trees laying all over the place.
That's correct.
All this burn material.
Mhm. By the way, he is on.
What's the?
He's on page. You know, I drove by this house today. Wasn't on some of the others we see.
See that?
I'd say, Marty, you want to stop by and say, we give you till Monday, clean it up? Let's do it. Let's try to be the right thing.
You know, all we're doing is adding fees on somebody who can barely afford to pay his assessment.
And if he's on a payment plan, he's trying. So it's not the worst home we have, no Chappelle. It's like
The debris in the yard, this is where to have any.
Go back and readdress it. It's gonna take him that long.
Your motion didn't address, I
Okay.
need direction of how you want to address that.
I think your motion is too soon, Bertie. I'd say give 2 weeks to get started and train, or at least a period more than 2 days.
I'm only gonna make a motion based on what he and I talked. I mean, there's no sense putting him under a deadline he can't comply with.
I think Sharon just suggested.
He will not have that wood. He's working 2 jobs, his wife is in bed sick. I don't think he can do it.
Well,
And I don't think it looks that bad.
I don't, talking about two different issues. One is the wood, which we could go. And,
Really? No. He doesn't.
and build. But again, he already owes us money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it depends. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
You
I
know,
don't know how
I
bad.
offered to go help clean up that. I mean, it's not a lot. It's just some branches, some of which he pulled off of other property.
Well, how much time? Sharon's suggesting 2 weeks.
Won't happen 2 weeks.
Make it a month, and if it's nothing, there's no action at all, then they bring
Okay.
it to the board next month.
That's the motion.
All right. Continued discussion. We've been in discussions with this guy since October. Initial
Really?
inspection, initial letter. We're almost in February. Okay.
I'll call the
What
question.
is the motion?
All right,
I'll
so
tell you
the
what
part-
I
The question
would
is,
readdress this section.
So we want to table this action
Table
until
it.
the next meeting.
Table it, tell him to get it.
It's already agreed to do the best he can. It's gonna have the trailer done Saturday.
Do we need a first and second? Or- Okay, with that.
no, not to table the motion.
Saturday.
Table the motion until the next meeting.
Okay, Marty, you made the motion.
You agree to table.
How do I do that?
Technically,
Just do it.
you
Even in a
cannot,
second.
you cannot withdraw the motion, Marty. It's in camp. I'll make a motion that Mr. Clark's motion be tabled. Somebody want to second that?
Second.
Yeah,
Now you can go to the
call the vote.
table.
Table the motion.
Yeah. Okay. That's how. it's supposed to work.
Okay.
Robert's rules.
We are now in public comments. Nobody. Oh, Anna.
I hope I can remember everything. Thank you, Mr. President and the Board of Directors, for allowing me to speak today. I represent Star Charities. Let me tell you something about it. What we do is, we're all volunteers. We live in Ocean Pines, and we do good by supporting all the diseases, anybody in help who needs help, and wherever we can help, like the family who needed help for their house, we did that. We did a lot of things, and we support Girl Scouts. And what I want to do is tell you about the next entity that we do, and that is our soldiers. What they do for us every single minute of the day, support us. They keep us where we are today, free from any unnecessary things that we have. I'm not a good speaker, just remember that. And it's hard for me to even to bring up all these things, but in the past we've been doing soldiers from our hearts. We love the soldiers, and it's a big project we do every year. Now this past year, we did it here at the community center because the costs were so high for other places. And the community are very happy that we came to Ocean Pines because they want to support us. And we do get a lot of support from our area, which we're happy, and we really are dedicated from our hearts to support these soldiers. And they, fight, come back wounded, they need help. So every year we focused on this, and we hope to do it next year here in the community center if we're allowed. And we want to pick the date from 8, 9, or 10, whichever days we can have it, if it's agreeable with you. But in the process, we have no money. We have about $1,000 in our treasurer, and we donated an extra $200 to make it even 45, which we raised this past time. So we are here to plead, and I hope that you would consider not charging us and maybe reimbursing us for the funds that were allocated to you, to the use of the place for the day. And we just feel from our hearts that we don't deserve to be charged for a place to do something for our soldiers. And we want to continue to do it. And if we can do anything to help any other way, please let us know. And that's the reason that I'm here today. It makes me cry. I'm sorry. I get very emotional when it comes to the soldiers. And I just feel we want to continue. If there's anything we can do to make it better or do anything, we're happy to do it. So I thank you, and I hope from your hearts you'll reimburse us the funds so we can continue and maybe have it next year again like we did. And we worked all year long, and we can't wait till the last minute to get the agreement of it, and I hope you'll consider all that. And you guys are doing a great job for Ocean Pines, and I really appreciate that. I know it's hard because I know what it's like to be in the position, and I don't know what else to say. If there's anything I can say or do, please let me know.
Question: how much were you charged on?
$450, and we didn't even get the whole day.
What Say that again.
What?
You were charged $450.
$450.
And you didn't get the whole thing. What do you mean?
We didn't even get them. They told us when we got there, we paid the fees, that we could have the whole day, right? So about 3 days before, we decided we'd go and decorate, So we go over there on that day, on the 9th, and they told us we had to leave because we couldn't decorate. They had another fair going until 2 o'clock. Well, most of our girls are very upset. We went over there to decorate, and when they sent us home, they couldn't even go home and change for our event because we had to decorate after 2 o'clock. Is that fair? I mean, let's be reasonable. They treated us pretty mean this year. I don't want to say that. It's their job, and they're doing a good job. I mean, they have to do what they have to do. But I don't think they treated us very good this year. And I feel so bad because I don't want to be here doing this. And for our soldiers, like I said, I'll do anything to help them, no matter what it takes. Do you have any questions or anything? I know you need money and everything.
Was it indicated to you what the reason for the charge of $450 is?
Well, they just told me that's what they charged to use the room, and we couldn't use it. We didn't pay the funds.
Were you here? Where were you?
Huh?
Where were you, Anna? This room?
No, we had to use the gym room because we had such a great turnout. The people were thrilled to death to come to our community because everybody said how convenient it was, and we work hard all year because we collect stuff during the year, and we plan for this, our big event for the whole year, like I say. We can help anybody, I'll be happy to do it. If we have to do something else, I don't know, but if we all pay for our own tickets, and we also donate a lot of stuff, and we're very proud to do this, and I just hope that you will reconsider it, and whatever it is. And that's all I can say. I can't help it.
Okay, thank
Thank
you,
you
Ann.
very much.
Thank you.
Great job.
Bob,
Yes, sir.
start notice, how does that all start notice?
If you read our guidelines, they should have been charged more than what was actually charged for it. I can go through a lot of details, but I don't think it's going to help the situation today. As for how the staff, treating or the staff treating them poorly, I can assure you that wasn't the case, and there was a lot of things that occurred. The pricing ended up being at least $300 cheaper than what we have in our guide for the type of use for the facility.
I guess my question again, Star Charities doesn't qualify under MO2 free use on this.
I can pull that and share that with you. I don't have that right here in front of me.
I don't either.
I'm sorry, I don't have that.
I mean, I don't know how many people, property owners.
Well, understand this: when you're looking at the facility, and everything we do is to MO2, use the facilities. We're talking about using the facility, and Ms. Anna said it correctly. Coming in early, using this room, kitchen, and the gym was where part of the hiccup came. They could certainly come in at 2 o'clock. That's what we had booked. That's what we had planned. The folks coming in earlier than that, tying up for longer periods of time, pushed us in other areas, which caused some challenges. The staff tried to manage through it. The difficulty came in when folks were upset they couldn't set up early, with the understanding why. It takes a while to set it up, but that wasn't what was on the plan, so our team didn't know it. So they're juggling other users as well. So Star Charities, along with many other folks, request use of the facility. So
it sounds at a minimum better communications are. I think on some of these types of things, you really have to clarify exactly what they're paying, when and where they can do that. I don't know that didn't happen, but if there's an issue, then obviously it didn't happen to everybody's stuff. So,
I have the documentation of what was approved. I have the documentation of what was submitted, what they were granted, the permit that was issued. So our team followed the rules and.
Yeah. Also, when you're talking about MO2, I'm not sure you're talking about the same thing that Marty is. MO2 is MO2. And I think you're talking about guidelines set up based on it. Correct? About charging.
Yes.
For the fees. And this is in now, is it in?
It's under his purview because that's what MO2 said.
Yes.
But MO2 also dictates certain get used.
I don't think.
I do, but not having that 25-page document in front of me, I can't answer.
It's been a
but
while.
I will research it.
I can almost look at Jim Trummel down there. But MO2, I have to say, but looking at Jim Trummel down there, is one of the resolutions that we agreed. Is it not correct? Can I suspend the rules on Jim Trummel?
We're in public.
Sure.
Please,
yeah, we're in
do.
public.
I mean, we're in public.
Yeah, we're in public.
Yeah, we're in public.
Anyway. Yeah. So I mean, I believe that's one of the items to be reviewed. Is it not, Jim? Yes. Okay. Sure. I think we need to work on that.
Most people don't know, but would you tell them what MO2 is?
The resolution that deals with the use of amenities.
Board resolution deals with how amenities are by people here and.
Are we open for comments and you're calling on us, or can anybody speak up?
No, I'm
Okay.
calling on people. So.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Well then, I think we should be taking turns with comments from the.
No, I
audience.
just opened the floor for questions.
Exactly.
Take your turn.
Okay. There.
I would like to put a little bit of detail in here for Anna's. The rule that I'm really concerned. I'll kiss it for you later. I am Mary Evans, 42 Martin Week, sir. I did meet with Mr. Thompson. Mary. And I appreciate the time he gave me. I also wrote individually once I didn't get satisfaction from my question and emails from him to each one of the board. Mr. Clark, I appreciate during the times besides Christmas and things you're going through, you're the only one that did respond to me. And at that time, Mr. Thompson then answered my email and said that since I have requested, and I will go over the email with you, that I referred it to the board, that he was turning it over to the board so that we didn't make any decisions as to where in dispute from what you would say, what he would say. what the issues boil down to is there is a little chart in the activities thing from the Community Center for each season. It says fees. When I talked to Mr. Thompson, previously I belonged to the Kiwanis, I belonged to several other organizations here. We have done fundraisers and never been charged. Since last August, or maybe it was July, between the Kiwanis, Star Charities, all of a sudden fees started coming out, a limiting of equipment. I understand few facilities, I understand we only have so many chairs. However, when they're not being used, then the other group should have access to it. We have to put through an extensive request several months in advance as to the use of these facilities. You have to say how much equipment you need, what rooms you want to do, something like that. These people, we get the answers on November 15th. November 15th for January, a function is definitely not enough time. You don't have enough time to tickets. You don't have time to budget what you need. You don't have time to do flyers. And what I'm asking, and what I talked to Mr. Thompson about, and he tells me there's this committee, and I appreciate committees because that's a good way to kill a project. The problem is that we never get an answer. We don't know who this committee is, so we still don't know what in the criteria that says who is a nonprofit organization. Where does OP, and we get to the MOTs, and I can give you a lot of medical abbreviations, but mostly all comes from the rectal orifice. I need to know for my own things. Right now I'm planning a wine and cheese for the Kiwanis. What do I need and how much do I have to charge for these tickets in order to make a profit to fit a certain amount of people in a certain amount of room? Do I need to rent chairs? Do I need to rent tables? That all goes into the amount of money that we have to decide is what we're going to do to not only pay the bills, but provide for the scholarship, the wounded soldiers, the Alzheimer's, whatever project that we're doing. These are all made up of people in the community. There are things that better our community because we're not only seen as this golf club, swimming, tennis, yada, yada, yada people. We are seen as people who really participate. And I'm very upset that I was the one we did get a lot of passive aggressive activity. And part of it came probably just from high emotions. Mr. Thompson very kindly made sure that we got 120 chairs and 20 tables. And I appreciate the extra work because we were only entitled 80 and 20. That wouldn't have half filled what would have cost us to do that project. And we would have had gone out, rent, which I investigated when this came about. I went and I investigated how much it would cost to rent these things, made deals with people. The problem is, it's a Friday project. They'll deliver it. They don't pick up until Monday. I mean, my garage isn't big enough to store all that stuff.
She paid for the extra chairs, and thanks to God for the sound.
Yeah. My main issue, when I'd like to present to the board, is I would like for all of our organizations that I belong to, because I didn't retire. I got out of this because what you guys are doing right now. I'll do my job, take care of sick people. Don't give me the bureaucracy. Don't give me a bunch of meetings and task forces. What I want is a criteria that tells me this is who you have this criteria. This makes you a nonprofit organization. You have to pay. You don't have to pay. This is the equipment you can have. This is the equipment you can't have. So if I say I'm going to do wine thing, I have some ideas what I can plan on. I'm not a public speaker, but I'll take care of you and do everything I can, but
Good job. You're doing just fine.
Okay? So that's my request. And I'm not here to be aggravated. Anna's doing the best she can. She does a lot of work. A lot of it's luck and a lot of it's generosity. But we need to have definite criteria. So this is what it is. You either are or you aren't.
I hate to sound like an idiot, but I thought we did.
Now, Mr. Thompson tells me there's a committee because a nonprofit has never been disclosed. So my email to him was that since this has not been, we've never identified this, it's sort of out there, we don't know where this category fits, and we've never previously charged, why all of a sudden? And I'm not going to go into grapevine stuff. Somewhere along the way, something happened, and someone took equipment from this room to use for that room for a project, and it got to be a big thing. And all of a sudden, all of this fees started coming out. And maybe it was in the books before. I don't know, because I'm usually the one just going around doing the work. I don't get involved in the meetings and stuff. I'm homicidal when I do. I think I told you that. Not good.
I'm well aware of that.
So it's the point's not on. So anyway, that's my thing. Just let me have what I need to know for all of our sakes, for all of the community organizations that are here. This is our community. It is made up of ours. We want to make it good for everybody. And it does us no good to go out and talk to our hairdresser, talk to this one, talk to that one, and tell them, boy, I tell you what, I'd love to help Ocean Ponds, but they're giving me a real pain in my butt right now. This is it. And they say, oh, well, so that's not good for our community. So we need to get some definite criteria. We are or we aren't. This is what you. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I'm sorry, honey pie bears.
I asked first. Dutch is probably going to get real mad, so I figure I'll go first. Yes. And I'll also apologize to anybody that feels differently about it. But we do have good usage of this building, and we need to step up and help take care of this building. I am on the secret committee with Bob. And the big discussions that come out, and so is he. The big discussion that comes out. Sure. Oh, Carol Ludwig, 5 Sandpiper Lane. Yeah. He's also volunteering. Yeah, he's interrupted me again. Anyway, we are all volunteers, and of course we're trying to help fix this problem, Parks and Recreation. One of the things that comes immediately to the surface is the fact that Parks and Recreation has a budget. They are in charge of this building. So they are tasked with trying to get programs in here for our residents with low costs and programs in here with costs involved that are appropriate. The pickleball players want to play. The kids in here on Wednesday night or Monday night, it's wonderful. The soccer, we want to provide those kind of things, and that's what Rex and Parks has to do. So there is a budget. That was one of the first things we saw, that there is a clash, because if Recreation and Parks is under the gun to bring in some type of profit on this building, it's very difficult for them if someone is not paying and they have premium time, that they get paid. Remember, a few years ago, it didn't matter if you had your fundraiser was on a certain night. If a paid event, if somebody came in here and wanted to do a wedding, they had to take that because the nonprofit organizations were not paying anything. No one was paying anything. Oh, but that's the way it is set up. Am I right? Yes, MO2 is set up for meetings. You read MO2. If you read MO2, like they said, really doesn't have anything to do with fundraisers or events. MO2 is in favor of the residents having places to meet and socialize. It says nothing about having a fundraising event for free. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do fundraising events for free. I'm just saying that looking at MO2, if you follow through with that, it does not say anything about fundraising events or where we bring food into this building, which brings up another problem. If we have somebody with a fundraiser on Friday who their caterer wants to bring things in on Thursday, you got a real problem. There's other things going on here. There's other groups either using the building. We have the same thing Monday night. The Delmarva Chorus, we're in 501c3. If people come in here and want to start using things, we let them. We don't let people in the door that we don't know anything about, which happens also. That's something that a resident should be able to help with also. That we have to have security cameras because we're not paying attention to the use of our building. So the committee is trying to come up with viable ways to either have a deposit paid, which is not going to be popular. And none of this has gone anywhere because it has to be brought by the court. But I just want to say to the residents that we have to be aware of the fact that this building belongs to the entire community. All of the fundraisers, yes, the Kiwanis Club does fundraisers left and right without being charged for them. But at that time, there's not a big call for the building, and they put in for it. It's those events where people are having fundraisers at a prime time that either Parks and Recs can rent it out. we either have to charge those groups or we have to say we're letting the nonprofits meet for free. And that's some of the things that we're working on. I hope that helped. I know it's not popular, but that's what the board has to decide when this comes to you, whether you can actually just stop and say that the nonprofit organizations can book an event and not be bumped by a paying event. Say, you're just like a paid customer. So that's something the board has to decide. Eventually, when Bob brings it. The secret information that I just shared that nobody knows.
Dutch, you were next.
Name is for posting a Lord guide for. I got a couple of things. And the first thing, I'm disappointed with the league. But this summer, the management came. I had 2 signs standing in the ditch. They took the signs away from this. What is Simpson or who it was. But they want me to clean the ditch. Why did I pay $900? They came this week, they cleaned on one side, they cleaned Lord Guide, but the other side not. I think so, they have to clean my ditch and the leaves. When Mr. Thompson came over here, he changed everything to save them $1, but he spent $500 million on the yacht club, what we lose. He's looking for better. Well, what is going on? And the second thing I want to ask you about the gas company. I've been here 23 years. I had bottled gas. Then they put the line in. A couple of weeks ago, I had a guy home, and a lot of people are changing to different companies to get the gas delivered. The guy wants $65 inspection. Plus, he wants me to change all the pipes in the house. This that comes from Ocean Pine. Who's bringing that out? I asked other people. Unfortunately, the guy was on my door. I asked other people, even Marty Clark. They changed the gas. They don't pay nothing. This guy wanted $65 and changed all the pipe to flexible pipes. What is going on in Ocean Park?
Really got nothing to do with Ocean Park.
Yeah, you people got nothing to do with it.
Nothing. No more than I have.
Well, that's the question I asked. I asked other people. I asked you too. I asked other people. They changed. They don't have. The guy don't ask them anything. But he came to my house. I told you that, right? Yeah. He wants $65 for inspection. I tell him for what? I said I had bottled gas before. What's going on in Ocean?
You think it was legitimate?
I don't know, Ron. But there's something wrong with the men do that. I told him I had bottled gas before. They never changed the pipe. Now he wants to change everything. Does anybody else got problems with that? No. Okay, that's the only thing I had to ask people. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dutch. James, you were first.
Jim Powell, 1 Annapolis Court, Section 16. M02 has been brought up in this meeting, and to be frank, my own reason for being here in this meeting was to approach Bob Thompson about needing to talk to him about M02. To go back in history, the board agreed back in September that I would be the one to, although I'm no longer a member of the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee, I would in fact be one to come up with some form of draft, let's put it that way, of M02. And I am at the point where there are things that I need to review with Bob. That's catch him after the meeting, frankly, is why I'm sitting there in the back. Now it's come up.
You didn't have to wait for the meeting. You know that.
Well, I felt it was easier that way.
He knows where you are.
Number one, I haven't felt very well since Christmas. But anyway, M02, of course, has become a subject of the meeting, and I'm going to wait until I get a chance to look at the video and review more detail what Ms. Ludwig spoke about, and I've already recommended whatever committee she's referring to be the one to come up with a draft for M02. One of the things I take issue with, a number of things you said. M02 clearly gives the responsibility to the general manager to establish a fee schedules for the amenities, and they would become a part of the budget process. It also clearly gives him the scheduling responsibility for the amenities. And that, I think, needs to be made clear that is, in fact, an M02. As far as nonprofits, the activities guide includes nonprofits in the various categories of groups that may rent or use the facilities. There may be a need to make a distinction as to what kind of a nonprofit there is. For example, I believe it's accurate to say that ANA and perhaps others are formal 501c4 charitable organizations, whereas Ocean Pines is a 501c3. There's a difference, nonprofit, between charitable and other non-tax or tax-exempt entities. And maybe there needs to be a distinction made for organizations such as ANA's and others. That's a board decision. But the nonprofit is shown in the activities guide as far as rental of this facility. And I guess that's about as far as I want to go. I don't want to stand up here and take up time. I'll be straightforward. I'm unfamiliar with the committee you referred to here. You might want to think about whether that's the committee or that's the entity, person, or whatever you want to do that is going to give to you the proposal. Thank you.
I might just add just a personal note that before I considered that, I would have to see something from that committee actually. Now, I don't know whether or not it's because Bob hasn't passed it on or because the committee wasn't ready or whatever. Doesn't matter. I've heard a rumor that this committee exists, and now you've confirmed it, Carol, but I don't know what you're doing other than what you said tonight. I haven't seen anything.
We're working with Bob. We're not doing anything.
We can't do anything until we see something.
For clarity, I don't have a committee, because you're not allowed to have committees that aren't open for folks to look at. I have a small task force of folks that are helping me. As I look at MO2, it's my job to come up with recommendations for the amenities, use, the fees, those type of things. So instead of just pushing it aside or making a decision myself, I reached out. A couple staff people that are helping me, and I have 4 or 5 actual community members that are helping me just review MO2, review how we're currently applying the policy, what's in the guideline, and helping me come up with some recommendations that we're going to present to the board. You notice they're not impacting this year's budget because it's not ready to be put out there yet. We're just kind of kicking around the pros and cons and trying to come up with the best possible solution.
And you did actually bring it to our attention
I
in
did.
July. It was called the Facilities Use Group.
Correct.
And then I think Tom and I actually stumbled in on it one day.
Yes, you did. We did. That's correct.
But in Dave's defense, I have no clue what they're doing. I mean, that's a policy and policy.
Well, if you read MO2, I set those. I'm following MO2 to present to you for final approval. And that's what I said. You haven't seen it yet because it's not ready to come to you. Now, if you want to change it, say I don't do that. I'm good with it.
No, I have no problem with that. But I mean, again, MO2 was supposed to yearly get a set fee. I've been on the board, it's my 6th year, never seen one.
The fees have remained the same,
Yeah,
and that's why we're reviewing it now.
In the book.
Correct.
And then we're all hearing the nightmares.
Miscommunication.
We're hearing the stories, a lot of them. I mean,
How about-
I got the
okay,
Chamber
but-
of Commerce coming up. Go, what's going on? They're not being called they're being called a for-profit by Ocean Pines, and they are 501c. So.
Yeah, I think one of the things, Bob, I mean, we've kind of been through this different ways, but, certainly you're entitled to have all the advisors you want, all committees. Don't call them committees, call them whatever. I don't care. They're meeting privately and they're advising you on what to do. And I know Carol's been involved in everything for a long time. faith in what she says. But at the same time, when they come, something eventually does come forward, I want to point out that we will know nothing except what we see in front of us. We will not know any of the pros and cons. We will not have any input from the community. And that is unacceptable. That is not going to happen. If we have to form our own work group, and we'll meet in the open, I can guarantee you that, to get the input from the community and go over it, then we'll do that too.
Well, let's make sure that, Mr. Stevens, you're saying what I'm doing is not right, is what you pretty much just said. I have every right to meet with whoever to help me get smarter at my job.
I started by saying you have that right, and you can meet with whoever you want to do your job. To do my job, I need the input from the community, and I have to understand what's put in front of me, and I have to understand the rationale behind it. I have to understand the pros and cons of it. And I don't hear that the way you're doing your job. I don't get that. So that's my point.
Mr. Stevens, you seem to be angry and upset about an issue. I'm not sure why it's even an issue.
Well, it's not. It's been an issue before, and I'm not angry. I'm not angry and upset, and I apologize if I sound angry and upset. But I am making a point, strongly as I possibly can, that we are not going to accept something that comes from you without getting the input from the community. Joe?
Are we still in public comment?
Yes, we certainly are. That was my public comment. I'm sorry. Dave Stevens, 122 Central Park.
Joe Reynolds, 84 Watertown. I agree with what Mr. Connell said. I agree with what you said. I have been personally opposed to these private committees that we're calling them because under Maryland law, all committees of the association are to be open to the membership. Mr. Thompson, the first time in OPA history, to my knowledge, has created committees of his own that he makes a case that they are not committees of the association. They are his committees. The problem with that is he appoints who he wants. He gets the information he wants. The people meet in private, and then he makes a decision as to what that committee really decided and brings it to this board, and no one else in the community is able to sit in on these meetings. This is not right. If I could refresh your memory, back when Skip Carey was on the board of directors 10 years ago or so, the Ocean Pines Association decided to hold a committee meeting to discuss regulations for the declarations of restrictions, the guidelines. Did Mr. Carey or the board or the general manager go off and get some private group and meet privately and then come recommend to the board? No. What Mr. Carey did was to hold meetings in public, allowing full member participation. Anybody in the community could come to the meetings and discuss these declaration of restrictions. Gave everybody all the time we wanted. I'm just totally opposed to all this secretive stuff. And that's what it is. You can call it anything you want, but you appointed personally a group of people that you picked to advise you, and the board gets your advice. Because the board doesn't even know whether or not the people you pick agree with whatever you tell the board, because it's all done in private. Get away from the privacy business. And the fact of the matter is, Mr. Thompson made a statement that said that he has the rights. You're getting into something. When you say you have the right to do something as an employee, you only have whatever rights this board of directors gives you, Mr. Thompson. That's what rights you have. And I think that's one of the things you're forgetting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank Creamer, 116 Boston Drive. I'm changing this up.
Never a bad idea.
Okay. I'm going back to pickleball, and the way I see it from what I've heard today is it could be 4 versus 8 pickleball. I just want to kind of maybe let you know a little bit about maybe unintended consequences of 4 versus 8. What will happen is 4 courts will not allow us to run a pickleball program as far as tournaments, outside play, and playing with all the players that we have. What we'll have to do, or what we'll need to do, is ask our friends from Platform and Tennis again for another year to use their courts, meaning going up to the platform courts at night. We use the platform courts at night. We go up, tape them off so we can play on them. We have the tennis courts painted now so we can use tennis courts at night. The tennis people want their tennis courts back. I understand. Platform doesn't want us using their courts because they might want to use their courts. We could be using their courts, and a platform person could come up and want to play, and we say, sorry, we've got these taped off. We're playing pickle right now. So we want to give everybody their courts back the way they were originally set up. So when you're doing your 4 versus 8, just kind of take into your mind that there may be some unintended consequences for a year or so until 8 happens. But with our growth, 8 is the number. That's all I got. Yes, sir.
Can I ask some questions? And John, tune in if you can help me out. Just information. I need information.
Sure.
How many tennis courts do you have down? How many are down?
We have 12.
12 tennis courts. Okay. I understand, or I was told, that one tennis court could be converted to 3 pickleball courts. Is that correct? Or is that incorrect?
No, two's the most.
Two pickleball. So one.
Now.
Okay. So one tennis court could be converted, lines repainted and all of that jazz, to 2 pickleball courts. And you have 12 tennis courts down there. Are they underutilized or overutilized, the tennis courts?
May I?
Yes. Right.
My name is John McNult, 1101 Ocean Parkway. Happen to be the chairman of the Racket Sports Advisory Committee, which reports to the Board of Directors, works among all the other advisory committees within the community, which there are numerous working. To answer your question, Jack, we have 12 courts, 4 of which we can share with the pickleball because the surface is hard. The other 8 courts have a soft, hard, true surface, which is not a good surface to play on.
Okay.
For that. My second point to underscore what Frank is saying.
Well, could you address the utilization, John?
Utilization of the hard courts in the summer months is medium to low. That's why we're in the sharing arrangements now, where we share 2 of the courts, create 4 courts with Frank's play. And that's been going on now for a year, and it's worked pretty well. There are problems, and it's not a good solution, but it is a temporary solution to give folks a place to play outdoors during the summer and during the winter, weather permitting, which is happening now as we speak. The soft courts are fully utilized during peak times, and we often overflow from soft courts to the hard courts during peak times during the prime playing season of tennis. So, yeah, the courts are being used. The point I wanted to make and bring out to you as we vacillate between whether we're going to build 4 courts or 8 courts, please keep in mind, we want to keep a ratio, and you can go and look this up as I've done, 20 to 25 members per court that you're going to build, whether that's tennis, whether it's racquetball, whatever. That's a general way to size number of courts you need to satisfy a certain audience. So, okay, we're thinking 20 or 25 courts. Or 20 to 25 people per court, okay? Right now, Frank, your numbers of members is over 120.
We have 132 right now.
132 members. If we only put 4 courts in, we're starting off behind the 8 ball, if you will, as to having enough courts to satisfy the peak demand. Coming out of the starting gate, we'll be starting off short.
Well, what about the 4 courts that you can create with the hard surface tennis courts?
That's just a temporary solution. We're looking for that's a viable temporary solution. It's been temporary going on a year now. As we get into the springtime here, it'll be a year as a temporary solution. So that's not a viable approach. The second point second point. Darn it. Good one, too.
But can I interrupt for 1 second? That 132 people, that's participating people. That represents 90 actual memberships sold. 90 sold memberships equals 132 actual players. So I just want to kind of get that out there right now because I know that question is going to come up.
The other point I was going to make between the 4 and the 8, earlier this evening, or was it this morning, whatever, we really beat numbers to death up there, and I certainly lost track of where the heck we were at any point in time. But I think we did lose track of the fact that there are economies of scale when you're building 4 or 8 courts. That's not going to cost you twice as much to build 8 courts as it will to build 4 starting from scratch. And it's probably going to cost you more money to build 4, wait a year, 18 months, and build 4 more. That total cost is going to be more than build all 8 to start. Makes sense. 4 is not enough to satisfy our current demands. It doesn't make a lot of sense go through the time, effort, to go ahead and start to build these new courts and start off with a number of courts we know is not adequate. That's just 2 points. Thank you.
And one last thing, and then I'll get you out of here. And right now, this group, this RSAC group, is starting to work together as a cohesive unit. And delaying us getting courts doesn't help that tension at all that was there at one time. It actually just prolongs it a little bit because we're going to be playing on tennis courts. We're going to be playing on platform courts. We're trying to become one cohesive unit. And that kind of pushes the wrong button sometimes, I'm sorry to say. Well, we tried that.
We could always drink.
Yeah, but thank you very much.
If I can just add one thing. The problem as I see it, whether we have half a loaf or whole, that's what we're looking at. The whole loaf is much better, but the budgetary has got a problem.
Right. Don't get me wrong. We would appreciate anything you guys do.
Yeah, Marty is.
We always have this debate about membership. What we're not mentioning is of the membership sold, pickleball, 30% of them are not property owners. Why don't we establish an initiation fee for non-residents of $1,000? Bang, we paid for half of the extra 4 courts.
Well, that's up to whoever sets the pricing. It's not against the law for the people to come from the outside to play.
I understand that, but I'm just saying we're getting ready. We're being asked to vote on extra, just say $55,000. 30% are paying $0. Zero.
No, they have memberships for their.
They're not paying capital. They're paying operational.
They get them paid to use. That's what all of them.
They're allowed, aren't they? Aren't they allowed? Isn't it in the activity guide that they're allowed?
We're not here to do amenity sharing for people that live in Bishop.
That's another issue.
That's a whole other issue. They're following the rules.
I didn't say they weren't. I just wanted to make it clear. 30% of the membership are not assessment paying members.
Okay, Marty's made.
Mr. President.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm a liaison to the racket sports folks, and one thing I wanted to put on the table, you guys did, is about 2.5 years ago, we started addressing the need for all 3 of these racket sports to find their way into the same room and working with each other. They have clearly done an excellent job of coming up with a unified caring where they care for each other, they care for all 3 of the sports. 2.5 years ago, there were 3 different camps all staring at each other. That is not the case anymore, and I just wanted to reinforce that comment that a lot of what's going on here is our membership that has come up with this solution, and I just wanted to reinforce the idea that these are our members that are sitting on these committees. These are our dues-paying, fee-paying members who have come up with these needs. They got the numbers, and you mentioned the 20 to 25 people. But my point in this is that I wanted to reinforce the idea that this group has found a way to reformulate themselves, work together, and that's the kind of attitude we want to reinforce.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I'd like to reinforce the fact these are public comments. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And they're not a rehash of the discussion that we've had a lot. I mean, a lot. All of the points we made.
Oh, God.
Okay, let's move right along. One
we
more.
got another
Okay,
hand.
if this is the same thing, you're going to be very short. Scotty.
Hey, Frank, what it said on that big flat. I have to tell you, what Tom just said is exactly true. We are really working together, and it's working out great. The only thing I have to say is, if you build it, they will come.
That was short enough.
I heard that before. Where
I'm
did
going
I
to
hear
close
that?
public comments right now. In the interest of-
So that, got
Where?
a person with his hand up.
Oh, okay.
My name's Steve Smith, 59 Windjammer, and I think I solved your problem with money you need for these courts. Instead of having Sandpiper pay a franchise fee and then I pay it because I'm a user of Sandpiper, why don't you just charge me direct? I'm more than happy to write you a check today for $36 for the yearly fee that I pay for all media content. Fee. I do have a couple of comments about, are we aware of the price of natural gas versus the price of propane that goes in our, even going into your tanks? Are you really aware that natural gas is half the price of propane?
It's not true.
Okay. Not true. That's
Not
okay.
even close.
That's okay. Not even close. Thank you. If you'll go out to a website called ERPD, you will see that natural gas, million BTUs, is $1 per unit, and not $2.50 per unit of propane, and not almost more than that on the electricity. Okay?
What was that word?
ERPUD.
Where can you buy it in Worcester County?
You can't buy it in Worcester County because you can't buy it in Worcester County because I can't get natural gas. Is that what you're talking
You
about?
could in Berlin, but you'd be paying
Oh, yeah.
$3.60.
That's okay. Maybe I should go. Okay. Anyway, the next
Hey,
question is
You'd be paying
the
twice
next
what
comment
you
I'm
are.
going to
Let's
make.
not get into
Can I get one more comment?
Absolutely.
Just
Sure.
The Public Service Commission, which I don't know, I keep reading about Public Service Commission has nothing to do with Sandpiper. As far as natural gas goes, they have everything to do with Sandpiper. The People's Council for the state of Maryland has been our partners and has seen the rate cases that go on. And according to them, there's nothing in the rate case unless Sandpiper comes back to them at the end of the year that says that they can have a franchise fee. Because the franchise fee would be a rate increase, and therefore there is no rate increase in front of them this time. So I'm just curious as to why we're continuing to move along with franchise fees, or now it's called, I assume, a footage fee. So we're looking at a franchise fee or a footage fee, and now we're looking at attorney fees for something that I don't know how Chesapeake would ever recover.
Anybody else? No? Closing public comments now. Not having hands. Sir, I'm
Steve
sorry.
Smith. Steve Smith.
Steve Smith. Okay. I want to make sure we had your name. All right, we're moving on to
Search committee.
Search Committee. Has everybody received?
What about the CIP update?
CIP update?
Yes, we are. Sorry about that, buddy. Okay, I'm going to, I want to turn on the,
Oh, fine.
all right. I'm going to kind of start this off by just reminding everybody why we're doing this. We back in, I think it was October, we proposed that we reinitiate a capital improvement plan process. And we had promised the board an update on that process in January. Ted Maroney and Jerry Avita have been principally working on it together, plugging home. Well, I've been convincing from Southeast Asia and other places. The challenge has been, it's been Bob's challenge and everybody's challenge, is the overwhelming amount of data that's involved. It's a huge project, just as Ocean Pines has a huge amount of capital to invest. And a huge amount of, I should say, capital assets. Now today we're going to try and keep this short. I think it's like we have about eight slides, and we're just going to show the overview that Jerry and Ted Maroney have developed on how we plan to proceed. So Jerry, I'll let you start.
We'll do this real quickly. Please, if you have questions, just jump in. I'm sure Mr. Stevens will not
You
add
need a
his
microphone, Jerry.
insight, okay?
You can use that microphone there.
It's going to require me to use two hands. Man, this is... Here we go. Okay. All this is trying to show, first of all, is that CIP has been involved for quite some time, going back to 2010, and I'm sure far beyond that. I believe I've seen some effort before that. We've been trying to approach or identify our approach to our capital investments. There's been a lot of good work done, a lot of effort, and what we're just trying to say here is that based on the sample set, now this is just a sample set of the last 3 fiscal years, and this is looking at just facility-related projects. We're not talking about equipment, we're not talking about vehicles, we're not talking about buying computers, just looking at facility-related capital investments. We think we can do improvement. We think we can do, we've had 3 major investments the last 3 years. Of course, at the yacht club is a major one, golf course, and the, yes?
Behind you, camera.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. 3 major projects in the last 3 years. We think we can do better in not only the distribution of the type of projects, but also the execution of the projects. What we're offering is a process to also address that last bullet, is how to prioritize our projects as we go.
Excuse me a second, Jerry, you got to back up a bit. Back up to the 47%. The yacht club was $4.7 million. The greens were $1 million, and the pool at the yacht was $500,000. How can a total budget of $9 million, where you've spent $7.7 million, equals 47% of the projects being completed? That math doesn't work.
It's not money. That's just number of projects. That's what that number is.
Okay. The implication was that was money.
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah. 18 out of 38, and that could not be. There might be a project or two.
So there were 18 out of 38 projects, is what you're saying?
Yes. I've got backup data if you want.
That's fine. It's just the implication of that was
Yeah,
wrong.
you're right. You're right.
Okay.
This is just a list of unprioritized capital requirements. The same list more or less appears on just about every task force that we've done. This is not rocket science. I mean, it's pretty obvious that we have some major areas that we have to address. I would just say that there are projects that you're dealing with in the current budget that are here on that chart. For instance, in the beach club, I know in the current budget we're looking at expanding the deck. At the sports core, we're looking at the pool and the deck resurfacing. The racket sports, of course, we've talked about at great length, is looking at all those areas. Now, the racket sports project, although it has its warts, it's the only project that we're not looking in isolation. We're looking at comprehensively in all the areas. And that's the intent of what we're trying to suggest here. As we look at our projects, they're not in isolation, they're not in eaches, but they're in relationship to one another and how they influence one another. That's what we're kind of trying to suggest.
Mind if we ask questions?
Oh, no, please, go ahead.
I'm looking at this summary page here that you've got. It just went down. I don't see roads, which is our biggest asset.
Yeah, this is not a complete list. This is just a suggestion.
Second question. I haven't seen the Route 90 underpass on anything since the turnover rate. Is there some liability there for us?
No. That's just my thought that if we're ever going to address that project, which I think someday in the future we should, at least in terms of access and options and things like that, we should at least start considering that in the planning. That's all.
There was a huge liability that flew along with some of the land that Chase had. I don't know how it ever disappeared.
I don't know.
That's not our bad.
What does requirements-based CIP mean? And there's a lot of words up there, but basically, and if I could sum it up, it means documentation. Documentation. The more documentation we do in terms of our projects up front, and the more detailed documentation we do, the better off the project will be. We have to do engineering analysis, trade-offs, that sort of things, all up front. It's critical to the process. I have to look at my okay. The intent is to get, I've been in project management in some form almost 40 years of my career, and the more analysis you do up front, the more information you get up front to the decision makers, the sooner, the better the project you end up with. And the intent is here is to get the information you need, the decision makers, the board, as soon as possible in the project process. That's what we're trying to suggest in a comprehensive fashion. Involved process, basically 2 stages. I'm not going to go through ad nauseum all the details that Ted and I have talked about. We're not going to do that. But basically there are 2 basic phases. That top row is basically the identification phase. And our thinking is that process would start the summer before the budget build. For in this particular case, we're in the current budget build. We would have started this process last summer, identifying the requirements, documentation of them, and then prioritizing them and getting the board approved the priority of those projects. Once that first phase is complete, it would drop down to the second stage, and that's what we're suggesting will start in this current year. The second stage starts with an approved budget, and we parcel out the projects to what we call project working groups, and I'll talk a little bit about those working groups. Those working groups will basically fashion and formulate in a documented process and way, and be the formulation of what we're suggesting will be the CIP of the future. That's a quick summary of it. Just a suggested list of possible project working groups. Again, not comprehensive, not complete. What will formulate this the initial list of project potential working groups. The initial list will be based on the budget that's approved this upcoming budget cycle. So once the budget is approved, we will formulate the working groups to mirror the current budget, to address those projects that you approved in the budget. Did I say that clearly?
So, and to build on what Marty said, the OBA bridges, would that include the roads also, or does not?
Again, this is not a comprehensive list. We would have a project team to look at the roads in the current budget. Yeah.
Jerry, clarify for me, please. The working groups, are they some of our existing groups, or are you talking about new people coming in?
I'm going to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
This is
a good piece of work here. I may have said it when it started. Who put this together besides you?
Ted and I basically.
Ted, okay. Nice job.
No, it's your friend.
Basically, this is the highlights of the way we envision the working groups working. Membership, key is the word team. This is an integrated, meaning not it's multifunctional, it's product-oriented, it's result-oriented. In order for an effective team to work, it needs to have a facilitator. It doesn't need to have a boss. It needs to have someone to keep the group on track, on agenda, working towards the goal. We did that in the Department of Defense for many years. We had training for it. I know how it works, so the group thought that I would be able to do that, and I willingly will do that process for these working groups. Again, all decisions will be by consensus. They will be by consensus. If you can't get a consensus, you don't have a decision. So that's the nature of these working groups, that you work together as a team. Operationally, we'll be looking to get what is historically done and update it. We don't want to revisit, we want to reinvent the wheel. We want to take advantage of all the work that's been done and carve a path forward on a current basis. The goal is not to roughly keep a project team together roughly about 6 months, not to exceed a year. Basically what this is saying is that we want to ultimately end up with a project that not only relates to the budget, but relates to end up with projects that are accurate in terms of their scopes, in terms of the budget and the schedule. We want projects to be fine-tuned as the best they can be in those three areas. Scope, in other words, what's involved in the project, how much it's going to cost, and keep it on schedule, on track. Those are the three key parameters of any project management business. The intent is to look at projects from a complete life cycle. That means when we're talking about building or improving a facility, we also have to talk how we're going to maintain that facility and build in that requirement into the process, budget process.
Jerry, these all have different timelines. They could, is that correct?
Absolutely. What we propose is do this. February, Ted and I are going to spend. Ted and I are going to spend getting every information together historically, fine-tuning materials for training, and getting the work groups functional. We would like to advertise the beginning of these groups sometime in the month of February, post it on our website. This would be basically it. This is the requirement-based CIP. What does it mean? How will it work? Potential groups. If anybody in the community is interested, all they need to do is contact me. We will then target, in the early part of March, an orientation session to bring in all those community members who are interested in working these groups. We give a basic summary of how it would work, and then we'll vet those people who would be interested in working the process and move forward from that point.
I'd just like to add one thing, Jerry. I think you didn't mention, although it's on the rubric. I've been looking at, there's a whole lot more information that it's kind of, but it's not organized, let me put it that way, 100%. But maintenance and maintenance requirements is a key factor, and it's stated here in several cases. But I mean, it's part and parcel of figuring out what you actually have to do in terms of capital assets and placing. It's one of the trade-offs one of the critical trade-offs that you have to make. So I just wanted to say that.
And just to elaborate on that point, Ted and I have talked at length about that, and we fully recognize that a requirement could potentially be identified, come up through the process, and we recognize it as a maintenance project. At that point, we would defer it out of the CIP, but propose it to be planned in the budget as a maintenance project. So to keep that identity. Exactly.
Is your intent just to do this number of groups at this point, or things like roads, Marty's mentioned, golf, these types of things? Are there other groups?
The groups for this
our initial process would be dependent on the budget you approve in February. Whatever capital projects are approved in the February budget, we would formulate the working groups based on those capital projects.
So of all these 7 or 8, we only need 2 or 3 groups that we established.
Perhaps.
Gotcha. All right.
Let me ask you a question. May I ask a question? Sure. I'm a little confused at this point because we're talking about a CIP plan, which is to put together what we will be proposing to do. We've already passed the budget to do something. Are these implementation groups? What is the function of these groups if they're going to function on things that have already been budgeted for?
Well,
and decided to be done.
What we're talking about is a process. We're laying out a process that will be twofold. We'll be actually executing projects real time, but also we'll be building a plan. If the process is once the process is complete. Thank you. Yeah, keep going. Keep going. There. If we do that full life cycle process as we envision, you see in the bottom right-hand corner, you see an output of the CIP. That is a planning process. So we're trying to do both simultaneously. We're trying to identify requirements, identifying those that will be real term or near term versus long term.
Yeah, I mean, you and I both have designed these things through our whole career, so there's no problem with that. What I'm trying to understand here is that the words you're using, you're saying that the first committees that are going to be created are things whose budget has just been passed.
Correct.
So the implication of that is that they are implementation teams.
Correct.
As opposed to planning.
That's where we're starting. Correct. This is a This is a
Just
growing
sure
process. Correct.
Where you start.
We're starting in the midpoint, and we're picking up the function and basically trying to mature it to a full cycle.
Well, let me flesh that out a little bit. You know, where I'm like Tom. I'm confused now.
Well, you're always confused.
that may be. I thought what we were talking about is you identifying, you and this group of people identifying the widest array of possible projects that were necessary in order to maintain this particular organization, association, at a high level, whether it be efficiency, use, what have you. And ergo, Marty says, where roads and drainage and things of that nature. Where I thought this whole project was coming from is that you were going to come up with a plethora, a wide range, a wide scope of possible projects that may be a 1-year project, 5-year project, 10-year project, 15-year project, and we as a board would prioritize that particular list according to what our belief is the needs of this particular community. Now, am I wrong in that? That's not what this is about at all.
No, you're half right.
But I'm with you, Jack, because that's what I thought the task was.
If I may, I believe that is the task, and there's no confusion about that. The issue is when you look at that wide range of projects, we have 8 on the list, and it's not a complete list. You put in roads, we put in drainage, and things like that.
Police station.
Yeah, well, facilities of different types. You really have to, if you're starting out by looking at what information is available in each one of the areas. So there will be groups working all of the areas. Now, some groups are going to find out that the documentation that exists is so old, and dated, that it may not have any practical value right now. So you can look at, for an example, facilities such as the Beach Club, look at an engineering study that was done 10 years ago, and it may not have any relative value. That doesn't mean you can't do anything, but it does mean that you have to read into it what's there, and then identify what needs to be done in terms of further studies, further engineering. Right? Each one of those areas will have something like that. There are others where, if you're looking at Michaelin Meadows, where you basically have specifications for what you're doing right now, and it is in the budget process. And you're looking at really what do you have to do next, or what's the completion of that. It's further down the line than the others are. All of these things, and I think what Jerry is saying is that we do have the more critical things to look at are the things that didn't really start from a requirements base. It was sort of an ad hoc requirements. Not to say that they're not real requirements, but they were sort of ad hoc, put together. I think those certainly have to be looked at. And is that smack of implementation? Yeah, it's closer to implementation. But it's not. But that is not to say that higher project, is all about that, and that we're just going to hop from budget to next budget to the next budget. Otherwise, what drives the budget is going to be the same thing that we do right now.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I would just add to that. Basically, a snapshot, if you will, of what you're suggesting is obsolete the moment you start getting obsolete the moment you complete it. Unless it's connected to a budget and it's executed, it won't happen. And that's quite frankly what we've done for a number of years. And so we've talked about this at length. So we want to do that. We have to plan long term. But unless we have a process of executing those projects, you can't build on that plan. It becomes obsolete and it sits on the shelf, which is basically I have all the reports in my office. And getting from the report to execution is a big leap. And so what we're trying to do is connect the two here.
Let me, Dave and you, Jerry, whoever. In my mind, what I see with the broad scope of this particular project that you're involved in, and the order of work or the work that you bring to us that has to be done, that fits very nicely into a reserve study. Am I right about that? I mean, we now have something that tells us what our physical needs are, and now we can really begin to focus on a reserve study.
Exactly. There's a lot of parallels between the two. Absolutely.
Yeah, one of the outcomes of what these committees will tell us the status of an asset as we know it, as we best can know it now. We may not know very much about it unless we do further engineering studies and so forth. But at this point in time, this is what we know.
Yeah,
okay.
Need clarification. For example, and I can only speak about what I know, the sports core complex. That's where I'm liaison to. I know the amount of work that's gone in. So I'm trying to understand what you're saying. It's in the budget this year, it's in the budget next year, money for the sports core complex. Assuming the budget approves this, are you going to have a committee to get the work done? Or isn't that the general manager's job to do that? I don't understand this.
You're not going to have a committee to get to work.
Well, that's what I'm hearing, that there's a committee implementing that this work is done.
No, that's not at all.
So if there's something in the budget, Jack, I'm just need clarification. That's what I'm trying to understand. So what you're saying is if something's in the budget and approved, then it is the general manager's responsibility to get that project completed in the parameters that were approved by the board, budget-wise, et cetera.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I don't understand what you were saying about the budget-driven committee.
Well, one of the things that you examine is exactly what was approved in the budget. In other words, what is the scope and nature of the projects that have been approved? And you're looking at a broader element of the sports core project. I mean, is that all that's going to be done? I mean, are there missing elements within the mental project? I said sports.
Sports core is what I know. Okay.
You're talking about the sports core project,
right?
Yeah. Well, if you have, the same thing. I mean, what's the full scope of the sports core project complex and the project? And unless somebody sits down and looks at that as a whole, we're not going to know.
That's what this
And that's what
group
this
has
is.
to do.
This is what
The aquatics committee.
and the inputs from all of these committees are going to flow. Somebody has to document really
Which has to be done.
and if it has, we're not going to reinvent anything. I mean, it would be silly.
Okay, then once it's approved, then again, is it the general manager's responsibility, or is there a committee of sharing it? I don't know. People, I don't understand it.
For the purpose of saving time, we scoped this down to 8 slots. We have in our thinking what an output from the working group would be to the general manager: a general specification, a draft RFP, a draft requirement, be all the documentation that he needs to look at, approve, and then execute according to his.
So you may be working along with the aquatics committee. with that
Absolutely.
committee,
Absolutely.
To develop this thing and take the
Absolutely.
general manager to assist him in his job.
Absolutely. It's to facilitate his job. It's pulling in information, various groups. It's fashioning it in a form where it'll hand off to the general manager to execute, basically. In the current budget. It's also looking long-term, shaping the CIP in the long term. It's twofold.
We were pretty ambitious in trying to make this report. I knew when I said do it, and it's just too large a scope, and it's different. So there are common elements in it from what we've done before. It's not totally different. So, if we can, and any questions that you have, you can ask me, you can ask Jerry, and Ted is basically getting all of the information. Okay, thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
All right, we're up to search committee. I passed out the member. Let me ask this: does everybody, when I pass that, see it? No. I want to add, if without objection, one name to this. Les Purcell came in late, and he's also volunteering. All right. Les Purcell. And let me, yes, it is with your package, but Les Purcell.
No, it was in the package.
It was in the back.
It's in the package.
It was in there.
I just, oh, here it is. In mine. All right, I'll say for the record, the names I propose for the 2015 search committee tonight. Martin Baer is the chairperson. Gary Miller, Nikki Lobb, Bill Lee, Diane McGraw, Grant Helvig, and Les Purcell.
I move that this list of search committee members be approved.
I'll second. Whatever. He seconded it as a team.
As a team. All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Jack?
Yeah, motion for golf. I'm going to defer to the author of the motion, Tom Terry, to introduce it. And I'm doing that for a reason. Mr. Reynolds really said something that really hit home with me earlier today about opening up the process. There's been a lot of, second guessing and, innuendo, misinformation floating around the association as it pertains to this whole golf process. And this motion is nothing but an attempt to open up the process so that people understand officially where this committee, where their collective head is. And I'd like to refer that to Tom to introduce this motion to.
Okay, the motion reads, Board of Directors hereby stipulates that the Ocean Pines Golf Course will continue to function as a golf course. Further, it stipulates that any and all commitments made by the OPA and/or its golf management company for golf packages and tee times will be honored. Background behind that motion: there has been much speculation as to the future use of the land, which is currently utilized as a golf. There's an ongoing RFP process aimed at determining how the golf course will be managed going forward. And in addition to what has been written here, board members, there is also, and you already know this, there is a public meeting being scheduled for February 14th at 9 a.m. at the Country Club, to where 3 of those management companies will be invited to make a presentation to the membership, the open meeting for membership. Third thing here, both of these issues have or can cause confusion in the OPA community and in the golf business environment, which can or have negatively affected spring booking. What that basically means is we need to make a statement that this course isn't going anywhere and that the quality of the course will be maintained. We're going to live up to any commitments. So the effects of the motion, it makes it clear OPA course will not be closing, makes it clear the land will not be repurposed for any other type of amenity, clarifies for the golf package booking groups that the OPA golf will be available and all commitments will be honored, and focuses OPA's efforts on assuring a long-term success in its golf course.
Any discussion?
Yeah, it makes it clear, well, it doesn't make it clear to me that the golf course will not be closed. It makes it clear it will not be closed for the year.
Well, that says not closing, I believe.
That's what it says. Well, how can we speak to the next one?
Well, we can't speak to the future. All we can do is say that this board has made a commitment to maintain the golf course and keep it open. And, well,
In May.
it may, but until it does, it's staying open. Bill?
I don't know why we needed a motion. This is like a touchy-feely type thing. Why? But I wish this would have been done back in October, so we wouldn't have missed the prime booking season. But this line about clarifies for the golf package booking groups that the OPA golf course will be available and all commitments will be honored. If we go to the lease group, we lose all control over that. They can set their membership fees.
I'll address
They
that.
can set their tee fees. They can do what they want, and we're out of it. I don't know unless
No. This is our board's commitment, and whatever group we go to, it will be this commitment will be made. That's the purpose of this motion. It doesn't matter who comes in. That motion is be true.
It doesn't matter to the golf bookers. Ooh.
That may be true. I don't know. Yes.
I appreciate this. I'd like to add one other word in there. Golf management company, golf packages, tournaments. I've had 2 questions about doing tournaments, so I'd like the tournaments to be added.
All right. Tom?
Is that all right?
That's fine.
And by the way, the motion wording itself, Marty, is the not closing is not part of the motion.
I see it now.
Yes, it's not part of the motion.
Right.
So the motion reads, stipulates the Ocean Pines Golf Course will continue to function as a golf course. Further, it stipulates that any and all commitments made by the OPA and or its golf management company for golf packages, tournaments, tee times will be honored. That's the motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion?
Call the question.
I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Sandpiper negotiations.
You don't want to do this golf thing?
What golf?
Well, it's on the agenda. It says
Golf proposals.
It says golf proposals update.
You're referring to the schedule?
Yeah, I'm referring to the agenda.
Yeah, I know
Pending
you're
action.
referring.
Well,
Okay, go ahead, Jack.
I'll keep it tight. But let me just say this: that the work and the effort put into this by people of this committee, which includes Tom Terry, myself, now Dave Stevens is involved. Jeff Knepper started with us originally, and Ron Oleski have put in a lot of good work to do the right thing. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that I don't think anybody on that committee has a dog in this hunt or a particular favorite per se. We are treating this as an objective process. To show you how objective this is, we have determined the best way to proceed forward is to have an open session, bringing in the 3 final candidates, one of which is Casper Golf, one of the largest golf managers in the country. Another group, Haley and Marshall. Bob Haley was one of the first, if not the first, professional pro here in Ocean Pines, and Marshall, the original individual was Charles Marshall, who was one of the first, if not the original, executive director / general manager of Ocean Pines. So they're local. The Haley represents a golf consultancy, his own golf consultancy, very successful individual. Marshall represents a hotel management firm, 6 or 8 of which of these hotels are located in Ocean City. The next group is Landscapes Unlimited, located out of Lincoln, Nebraska, with local offices in Annapolis, Maryland. They have 55% ownership into a golf course called Renditions, which is a great golf play. They are very familiar with management of golf, construction of golf courses, maintenance of golf courses, regeneration of golf courses over the last 20 years. These individuals will come to us under a understanding that they will make a full presentation to the general membership on the 14th at 9 a.m., and it will last till probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 2. All individuals will be invited, and I would hope that OPA, with the help of Bob Thompson, OPA will get the word out through the website and let folks know when and where this is going to happen and how it is going to happen. I will be the moderator. It is not a board meeting. The board members will be in attendance. I imagine they should be interested in gauging the reaction of the individuals in the room. Those of you sitting in the audience, if you can bring some of your friends and neighbors out, we'd love to have it. The more participation we have, the greater it is. There will be Q&A from the audience to the individual representatives. You'll have input. I'll have input. I don't know if that's been done here before, but I think the committee is to be commended for opening up the process and bringing as many people into the process as possible.
Is that at the country club, Jack?
I'm sorry.
Is that at the country club meeting?
The country club, golf country club, yes. It's not here. It's at the golf facility, second floor.
Any of those 3 people proposing a lease?
No. We're going to get a qualification on that.
Yeah.
There is a group of questions that went out. An individual entity that was going to form an LLC for a lease has changed their proposal at the beginning, at the very beginning, and turned it into a management
we need some, but we'll know well before. We haven't got the response yet.
They will give us a clarification on about the 8th, right? About the 8th of February. And again, the meeting is going to be on the 14th.
So there may be a lease proposal at this meeting.
It's possible, but I doubt it.
Awesome.
I'm done.
Okay. Finished, Jen? Okay. Let's move along. Sandpiper negotiations. There are no Sandpiper negotiations. So at the present time, unfortunately, and it takes two to talk. Sandpiper is discussing any. Liaison reports. We haven't. Oh, you do. Yes, you do.
Very quick.
Yes.
I just want to get it out there because I just found out about it. The communications working on this code red. Berlin's working on all the local jurisdictions working on. Basically, it's a program where if you have somebody in your house that needs special care in an emergency, meaning hurricane, flood, locust, whatever, they know that that person needs special care. Make any sense?
Yes.
But in order for this to work, we need to get to our membership a form that needs to be filled out and returned for our police department to submit. I know very little about this. I wasn't at the meeting. What happened? And right. Here's where the problem comes in. They want to include that form with the mailing of the assessment. Now, I know that nobody wants anything in with an assessment bill other than an envelope to send your check back, but I want Bob to know about it, think about it. I mean, it certainly would save us a bunch of money. We might be able to do it in a quarterly report with a tear-out type return postage. I don't know. It's just coming to our attention.
Yeah, we had a police lieutenant give us a demonstration. Mark. It's a very, very worthwhile service. Like one where, I've fallen and I can't get up kind of thing. That's exactly what everywhere would have. Anybody buys into it. And the connection with police, with fire, with anything. Well, it's all inclusive of it. Very good.
Okay, thank you, Marty. Appointments. I have, I'll read down the list of appointments and ask for approval.
Why don't we go individually?
Okay. Rick Jackson, Chair Communications.
No objection.
No objection? Yeah. If there's an objection, just say. No. Glenn Duffy, Chair, Architectural Review. Steve Cohen, Chair, Comprehensive Planning. Trez Denk, second term, Recreation and Parks. Jim Wall, first term, Recreation and Parks. Don Pelicano, first term, Records.
You missed it?
Oh, you did.
That was deliberate. The Mark Bennett has turned in, as you have an application for Mark Bennett. I am not proposing for Mark's name because there was a fairly strong objection from the committee, the Budget and Finance Committee, and if somebody else wishes to, we vote it up there. Yeah, I know. I'm exactly in the same way.
I mean, you know what happens when the group starts picking the group? Just issue everybody and have a box, black ball.
Exactly.
This is eternity.
The chair does not chair of the committee.
That's right, assistant chair.
Well, you know what?
It was unanimous by the chair.
The same can be said when I put in an application for the same committee. They didn't want me either. Huh?
Who would have appointed you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm making.
Well,
That's their committee. I think they have the right to do it.
I know.
This is not the first time this has happened. It happened when I was sitting in the chair day. We had to try to get aquatics committee due to potential disruptions and all kinds of things. That gentleman was not approved by via the input from the committee itself. So it's not quite the same thing, fraternity necessarily at this point. This is not. This is not something that this is the only time this has happened.
It's happened, and I can also think of another case.
It's-
Yeah, I'm not one of them. I think anybody that wants to serve their.
Well, I am notifying the committee that the application has been received. If somebody, notifying the board the application is received by the board. If someone on the board wishes to nominate Mr. Bennett to the committee against the committee's objection,
So nominated.
do I have a second? Without a second, we'll withdraw it. Okay. Fair enough. Media questions?
Oh, they're still here.
Oh, good. We have no media questions.
They all left.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
One thing quick, that meeting be at the country.
Yes.
Country Club, yeah.
9 a.m.
You know, the
9 a.m.
Go ahead and held the
The information's out there.
Okay, motion adjourned.